Are you ready to break free from the doubts and limits holding you back? Welcome to Embrace Your Value, where therapy meets coaching to help you unlock your true worth and take control of your life.
Hi, I'm Kristen, a trauma therapist dedicated to helping you heal, break old patterns, and reclaim your power.
And I'm Jen, your support coach, here to show you how to set fierce boundaries, embrace self-compassion, and step boldly into the life you deserve.
So whether you're stuck in self-doubt or feeling lost, know this: your value isn't up for negotiation. It's time to own it.
Every week, we tackle real issues that challenge, inspire, and empower you to live with purpose and confidence.
So grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, and let's get started.
Because you're not here to play small. It's time to embrace your value. Welcome back to Embrace Your Value. I'm Jen, your beliefs and boundaries specialist and coaching partner on this journey. And with me is our amazing trauma therapist and inner wisdom guide, Kristen Burris.
Hi, everyone. So glad you're here for this important conversation. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that touches all of us: healing the inner critic and moving from harsh self-judgment toward real compassion.
Oh, I love that. The inner critic, that never-ending voice inside our heads that tells us all the ways that we're not enough, can be so exhausting. But what if we could flip the script and make that voice a source of kindness instead of torment?
Exactly. And this voice is so much more common than people think. Where does it come from? It develops from our life experiences, and we use that to protect ourselves. Even if it seems harsh and misguided, these are the voices that we think will keep us safe. So understanding it is the first step to healing it.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be sharing some practical coaching tips and stories from my clients who've struggled with that voice too. And let me be really honest, I've struggled with that voice. That inner critic, I like to call it my critter brain. It likes to show up a lot. It's not just you. It's not just our clients. We have it too. So this isn't just theory. You get lots of tools to try today.
Okay, so let's start by understanding and defining what the inner critic is. So clinically, we see it as an internalized message from our past experiences, especially things like criticisms that we received as a child or trauma. And what that has done is it's become an automatic negative voice in our mind. It comes so quickly and so fast, we don't even know it's there. And until we learn what to do with it, it gets stronger and stronger. Sometimes it tries to keep us safe by warning us away from risk or failure. And it can do that in the form where we no longer trust our instincts.
Makes a lot of sense, Kristen. Thanks for sharing that. And our inner critic thinks it's helping, but it actually ends up holding us back. So something that one of my clients has told me that she's heard for years is, you're not good enough. You can't do that. And it's really stopped her from trying anything new. There are so many things she's told me over the years, whether they've been jobs or even to the point of dating certain men or just anything that she's like, I'm not good enough for that. I'm not even going to try. It's that defeatist attitude that it brings for her. And when we flipped that, we'll get into that later, but when we flipped that, it really changed everything.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say exactly what you said, which is the voice more often than not says some version of you're not good enough. you're not lovable, you always mess up. And a lot of times, these are the very words that we have heard as children or our interpretation of the words that were given to us. So these messages can feel so convincing because they are repetitive in our brains, things that we heard in childhood or felt in childhood and continued through our lives, repetitive and tied to deep emotions.
And what's also important is learning to notice when this voice is dominating us. Maybe you feel tension in your chest, or there's shame that stops you from moving forward. Whatever those physical symptoms are and emotional cues, they're signals that your inner critic is at work.
Awareness is key here. Until you can identify when that voice is speaking to you, you have to learn how to listen for it and recognize it. It's hard to change the conversation. We cannot fix things that we are not aware of.
So, Kristen, what do you suggest when someone recognizes that inner critic stepping in? How do we stop reacting unconsciously and start responding intentionally or even thoughtfully?
Great question, Jen. One key tool I can think of is mindfulness, our best friend. Creating space and time, right? Like when we say creating space, we really mean like just taking a minute to pause, creating space between the thought and the emotional reaction. So thoughts happen in 1/20th of a second, and it's really hard to stop that first thought. What we do have control over if we learn how to do it is the next thought or the next reaction. So the best way to do that is we notice the criticism without judgment. That's part of the voice. I even have people give it like odd names, like the boogeyman, or maybe I'll have them draw a picture of it or something like that. Name it, externalize it, and realize it's just a thought, not an absolute truth.
I love that. And that's why I call mine the critter brain, because it's definitely a little critter running around there. I always think of it as a little critter chewing on wires so that it's destroying the thoughts I'm supposed to be having. But from a coaching perspective, as you all know, if you've been paying attention to us and following, I always encourage journaling to externalize those thoughts and challenge them. So an example of that is when you hear, I'm a failure, ask yourself, what evidence is there for and against that? How do I know I'm a failure? Is that really true? And then write out whatever comes up. And I'm going to say this again because this is how I feel about journaling. But journaling is not for anyone else. It's for you specifically. So even if it doesn't make sense, even if you contradict yourself, even if you don't spell everything correctly, even if you forget commas, you don't use any punctuation, doesn't matter. Get it out of your head and get it down on some paper so that you can look at your thoughts and you can see what's going on up there. You can't do that when they're all mumble jumbled up there and this little critter is up there chewing on all the different neurons going on. Because it just doesn't work. So get it out of your head and onto paper.
Exactly. Yes. Just getting it out of your body. We had a whole episode on trauma and how it lives in the body. And it's a great way to get that up and out. So cognitive reframing helps to catch those automatic negative thoughts and replace them with more balanced reality-based ones. So if there's no evidence for it, then we have to say, that's a feeling, not a fact. Grounding techniques like deep breathing or focusing on the senses, so the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 that I've spoken about before, can calm the nervous system when that critical voice feels overwhelming. Because when that voice comes in, we are in a threat mode. And so our nervous system reacts. So we want to calm that nervous system down so that we can think more clearly about what's going on.
And I have a little simple exercise to share with you, our listeners, and I would challenge you to try it. When you hear the critic, pause and silently say, "Thanks for your concern, but I choose to be kind to myself." And there is a caveat to this. You actually have to mean it. You can't be condescending. And in the back of your mind go, "Yeah, right, I'm never going to be kind." You actually have to want to do it. Thank you for your concern, but I'm choosing to be kind to myself. And if that feels too hard, just say, "I'm choosing to be kind to myself right now." So it doesn't put any expectations on later. It's a small step, but practicing this pause builds your response muscle over time. And that's what we really want.
Right. And that's exactly what I was talking about with the neuroplasticity. If we create patterns in our brain, then we can repeat those patterns. So responding, you were talking about response muscle. Responding instead of reacting is a skill that you have to cultivate. It requires patience and consistent effort, but it does rewire those old neural pathways.
And now that we've paused and responded, how do we actively cultivate that kindness towards ourselves?
Sure, self-compassion, Jen, is crucial for healing. So when we can be kind to ourselves, then we can start learning to heal ourselves. Research shows that it lowers stress and supports emotional resilience. Many people struggle with feeling worthy of compassion, especially if they've experienced trauma, and especially compassion for themselves.
That self-worth block comes up a lot, but small daily habits can shift this. For instance, I always encourage clients to celebrate even tiny wins. Maybe you stood up for yourself or chose a positive thought. That is something to celebrate. Be excited for those things, because the more tiny wins you see, the better it gets.
Absolutely. And setting boundaries protects your mental space, allowing that compassionate voice to grow louder than the critic. So we have to practice self-kindness rituals and daily practices, even if just for a few minutes a day. I tell everybody, like 3 to 5 minutes of a little bit of self-care, whether it's reading, journaling, taking a walk, whatever, once, twice a day really, really does change and shift how you're feeling. So journaling, any of those things, self-kindness rituals that come from a place of love for yourself or doing calm activities reinforce this shift.
Absolutely. And remember, it's a process. It's not a one and done. We have to do the process. We have to practice it. And we have to be patient with ourselves. That's a huge part of self-compassion. You can't have us tell you this, listen to this podcast, and then go, "Oh, I've got it. I'm good. I did it once." It's not how life works. It's not how anything in life works. There's a reason practice makes perfect is a saying, but I like to say practice makes progress because I'm never striving for perfection. That's not attainable. So practice makes progress is what I tell people. It's not about becoming perfect. It's about embracing our humanity with kindness.
Absolutely. So just to recap, recognize when your inner critic is active, practice responding thoughtfully instead of reacting, and nurture your self-compassion every single day.
We invite you to notice one common critical thought that you have today. Grab a journal, write it down, and then write a compassionate response. You can start simple like, "I'm doing my best and that's enough." You can also message us. You can message us. You can email us, especially if it feels too hard to just drop in the comments. You can always drop stuff in the comments. But if it's too hard, you can go to embraceyourvalue20 critical@gmail.com, and you can email us and say, this is my critical thought today, and I don't know how to write the compassionate response. I don't know how to come up with one. That's okay. It's okay to ask for help, because you know what? That's compassionate too. That's giving yourself some grace and saying, I need somebody else to help me. We can help you come up with that compassionate response, and we are happy to do that.
Absolutely. And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with anyone you know who struggles with that inner voice. Healing starts inside, and together we can embrace our value more fully.
We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for being here with us today.
If today's episode hit home, don't just keep it to yourself. Subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Because everyone deserves to know their worth.
Next week, we're diving even deeper with more insights and tools to help you break free from limitations and live authentically.
Until then, keep raising your standards, owning your worth, and embracing your value.